Venus and star blessings, everybody. Welcome back. I hope your new year has started well. There's a few interesting things that I just want to point to from the point of view of what's happening right now and a particular energy that is really open from now until June that is quite advantageous provided we actually put in the work for it. And I'm really talking to Jupiter and Saturn. In amongst that, though, there are some very interesting archetypal energies or portals, planets and asteroids that are lining up at the moment, which really speak to insight, divination, prophecy, revelations and revealing things. And those things are particularly associated with first of all, the god Apollo, and the priestess goddess that really worked alongside him, which is known as Pythia of the Delphi, the Oracle of Delphi in Greece. And at the moment, there is an asteroid called Pythia, and she is actually in Capricorn, conjunct the Sun at the moment in the tropical zodiac. And just a little backstory, and before I give you this backstory, I just want to read this quote. The deep critical thinker has become the misfit of the world. This is not a coincidence. To maintain order and control, you must isolate the intellectual, the sage, the philosopher, the savant before their ideas awaken people. That is a quote by Carl Jung, which I synchronistically came across today. And I say synchronistically because the last couple of days I have been quite immersed in a particular research project for one of my classes, which is all about the daemon, otherwise known as the part of spirit in terms of Arabic parts. So that's going to be one of my classes, which reminds me, if you're interested in joining my classes, I have a new series starting this month on the 21st of January, New York City, time zone, and 22nd of January, Melbourne, Australia. So if you want more details about that course, just send me an email and I can give you information. But upon my research and discovery the last couple of days, I've come across quite a lot of material pertaining to this spirit energy called daemon. And it can be spelled in a couple of different ways. And fundamentally, the daemon is your destiny. So in my research and studies, I came across some material where Carl Jung was speaking about the daemon actually, and his connection to his daemon and how that impacted or how he related to that in his own life story. And it's a very, very interesting and deep and complex subject, but I'm putting together a class for that. So if you want to know more about your part of spirit, which is your part of destiny or part of daemon, check out that class that I'll be offering later on. The reason I mention it is because the last couple of days I've felt incredible inspiration to delve deeply into this subject of the daemon. And the daemon is a spirit energy, if you like, a guardian, a guide that we each have, that we kind of sign a contract with just before we're born. And that guardian daemon is with us all the time. And it's an internal voice, if you like, that is always calling us towards our destiny. Now, whether we hear it, listen to it, integrate with it and so forth is another story altogether. But certainly the Arabic part, which is called the part of spirit, which is the same thing as the part of daemon or part of destiny, will, describe and characterize a number of different things based on the sign that it's in, house placement, its planetary ruler and aspects and so forth. And that's what the class is going to be based on. But even if you weren't to look at astrology and you just explored these teachings around the daemon, it's a very inspirational journey to embark on, because it's getting to know, becoming more connected with basically your destiny and what you are destined to become. The daemon speaks to who we are destined to become, not who we are already, but who we are becoming and who we are destined to become. And it also shows up very strongly in destined relationships. That's something that myself and my friend/mentor have been really exploring really the last 12 months quite a lot. We've looked at a lot of different charts where this part of spirit, daemon, destiny, is highly activated in when two people meet in very important destined relationships. So the last couple of days I've been exploring all of that, and I've felt incredible inspiration through the discoveries that I've made, the material that I've come across, the reflections that I've had around it. And that's been sort of the last 3 days really intensely. My consciousness, my mind has been very focused on that, and I've drawn a lot of different teachings and material, which I'm putting together as a class, like I said. But then yesterday in the morning, I realized that this goddess, asteroid Pythia, has been conjunct the sun and is conjunct the sun as we speak. So she's transiting in the sign of Capricorn. Pythia is a goddess of prophecy. You know, when you could say when she activates something in your chart, I mean, the activation is a collective one because she is conjunct the sun. So it's there for the world. And, you know, I guess from a collective perspective, there are prophecies, truths that are being revealed, right? But when she activates something in your chart personally and it hits off a personal planet, it may just be, you know, something very profound that comes to light for you, something that comes into your field of consciousness and understanding. And that could be just simply because of things you are studying or looking at and so forth. The way it works out for me usually is when, and I feel it is actually the daemon which calls me to certain things. I've been studying astrology for 26 years now. So I'm always looking at new things or revisiting old things that I've learned, expanding my understanding, just, you know, ongoing. It's like, I think when you have a relationship with astrology from your heart and soul, which I do, you are an eternal student, you know, with God's language or the goddess language. That's how it feels for me. And what typically happens is I'll be drawn to something. It's like a voice really calling me to it, you know, a particular subject or a particular teaching. Somehow it comes to me. I don't even look for it. It literally just manifests in front of my eyes, whether that's through something I read or something I see, or just, you know, it just comes in different ways. And this daemon focus for me really came very, very strongly, calling me to really pay attention to it. And this was happening while the asteroid Pythia has been conjunct the sun in Capricorn. And as I said, she's the goddess of prophecy, insight, divination, you know, deep teachings, deep truths coming to you in some kind of way, calling you to explore them. And naturally, it will relate to your pathway and what you are doing. And my pathway and what I'm doing is constantly reading, researching, practicing, exploring, looking at charts, you know, looking at the sky and so on and so forth. That's really, my whole life is really about that. So when these things come to me, that they're in alignment, that they are completely congruent with what I'm doing with my life, right? And actually Pythia is approaching a conjunction to my Mars. So she's been transiting in my 12th house. And but Mars is a personal planet, right? So she's coming close to that Mars, and Mars contains a lot of different things for me, and particularly because it's conjunct Vesta in my chart, and Vesta is the goddess of the soul, right? Soul language, soul mysteries, and so forth. So here comes Pythia, and she just opens something up for me and inspires this particular journey for me at this point in time. I'm sharing that to give an example of how it's manifested for me. and how you might think of how this might relate to you. So first of all, you need to look at where Capricorn is located in your birth chart. That's where Pythia is transiting at the moment, along with the Sun and anything else that's in Capricorn, such as Pluto. So what's going to happen is, let me just share my screen. So this is a chart just for today for Melbourne, and I've chosen this particular time for a reason, because first of all, here's the Sun in Capricorn rising on the ascendant, right? You can see it's rising on the ascendant at around about just after 6 a.m. sometime. And look at Mercury, it's further on, right? So Mercury in this case is a morning star, and I want to get to that because that's quite important as well at the moment. So the Pythia Sun conjunction is active as we speak, has been for the last couple of days. And interestingly enough, let me just check the ephemeris again. So on the 21st of January, there's a few extraordinary things going on this month. And I've actually heard some people say that, oh, you know, this month is going to be just an easy, cruisy, flowing month. I beg to differ. I think there's a lot of good things that will come out of this month, but I don't think it's an easy breezy walk in the park. Because Pluto has a big transition this month, and Pluto is never a walk in the park. Anybody who says Pluto is a walk in the park clearly doesn't understand Pluto. So let's just animate this chart, and let me just show you what I want to show you. So the first thing is, of course, this conjunction right here, Sun-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. The final conjunction we'll ever see with Sun in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn for a very long time, right? This is the last passage of this incredible Sun-Pluto conjunction. Now, of course, that's only there for a day, but that within itself is has potential for a lot of different things. It certainly is a wrapping up, closing up a lot of things about the cycle of Pluto in Capricorn, and the Sun's journey, you know, in Capricorn, aligning with Pluto, right? The Sun is always our spirit energy, so it's always illuminating something for us as well. Then what happens here on the 21st, 22nd of January, 21st Northern Hemisphere, 22nd Southern Hemisphere. This is when I start my second series of classes. You can see there's a Sun-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius. Now, what I mentioned in a post in the community section and other social media, which I haven't heard anybody else say, is that this Sun-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius, first of all, it's the first time we're seeing this in our lifetime, number one. And perhaps even more importantly, this particular conjunction between Pluto and the Sun at 0, I want to take it back actually to, we need it to be 0, okay, 0 Aquarius on both sides. So we just, okay, so this point here, 0, 0, the Sun's at 0, Pluto's at 0, right? 0 is a very significant degree in the zodiac, regardless of which sign we're looking at. This particular conjunction between Sun and Pluto hasn't occurred for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So it is a really big deal on relative to what is happening on the Earth at the moment. This is a completely brand new portal of energy, and it's in the sign of Aquarius, which always takes us towards the future as well. So to suggest that, you know, January is a walk in the park or an easy kind of month is really, I don't understand when people make those statements. When we've got a month of Sun conjunct Pluto in Capricorn at the end of the sign, and then a few days later, we've got a Sun-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius, which hasn't occurred for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And in both cases, it's Pluto. Pluto is about transformation, death, rebirth. The sun is the illumination, spirit energy coming forth. These are very significant portals. So in this month, we have those patterns going on. And as I said, Pythia is in Capricorn conjunct the sun as we speak, but she continues on and she gets to Aquarius by the 30th of January. So she is actually conjunct this Sun-Pluto here. Let me just see, what date is that? 21st. So on the 21st of January, Pythia is actually at about 25 degrees of Capricorn. So she's still conjunct this Sun-Pluto, but out of sign. She's still there. She's in that portal, hanging around. By the end of the month, she gets to Aquarius, and Pluto will still be at 0. So let's just do it by days. Let me just show you that. So this is the end of the month. Look at Pluto. Of course, Pluto is still at 0 because Pluto moves incredibly slowly. So at this stage, on the 31st, Pythia has now ingressed into Aquarius, and she forms a conjunction to Pluto in Aquarius. So she's, in other words, for the Capricorn energy, she's been there with the Sun and Pluto, and now stepping into Aquarius, she actually joins up with Pluto, right? This is quite a profound passage, from the point of view of prophecies and things being revealed and seen, for those who have eyes to see. Think about the quote that I read. The deep critical thinker has become the misfit, right, in the world. That's so obvious. Look at what's happened to Julian Assange. Many people, truth seekers, truth speakers in the astrological community or in other communities who are silenced, censored, and so forth. But the truth is that the truth and the light of the sun can never be dimmed, ever. I think that comes from a quote from Buddha, actually. So no matter how much the systems in the consensus reality from that very egocentric unconscious level who provide a particular narrative that is false, that is based on controlling the collective or the collective narrative and so forth, they will continue to try. They've been doing it for a long time. It's become particularly evident for a lot of people in the last 3.5 years because it's come through in such a cataclysmic manner that it has shaken the foundation of everyone's life in some way, shape, or form. So it has caused an inquiry in people's minds of what they thought reality was, right? That's a given. And this is just continuing in different ways. So because of this control aspect of wanting to, have a particular narrative presented as though it's the actual truth, the ones who speak up against that, who are sages, who are truth seekers, who are teachers, who are astrologers, who are philosophers, whatever it may be, as Jung said, the control systems will label these individuals as misfits. Misfits belong to the world of Uranus. Uranus means you don't fit in. What's a misfit? It's somebody who doesn't fit in. Fit into what? Fit into the consensus structure of reality. So there are many different people speaking on truth, including myself. And sometimes, we go through periods where there can be enormous frustration and exhaustion because the consensus reality is, it takes a huge chunk over what we are seeing and hearing. And it can sometimes leave us feeling like, you know, there's not a lot of people that have woken up yet, or, you know, is this worth it? You know, it's just exhausting. It's like beating my head against a brick wall. And I guess we have to resolve that within ourselves from the point of view of self-care and just realizing, you know, where we are investing our energy and so forth, right? And I often have to go through these cycles of withdrawal to recharge my own self, you know, from the point of view of speaking on things, on truth and so on and so forth, especially with social media platforms that are, you know, relentlessly and notoriously censoring the truth, as they always do. But I guess it's really about understanding that when you don't subscribe to the consensus reality version of life, you will be classed as a misfit and you will be excluded, and it is a price you must be willing to pay, so to speak. But then it comes back to, well, is it more authentic to not follow that path that calls you to the path of your destiny and truth, the daemon? You know, do you want to do that, or would you rather just subscribe to the consensus reality to not rock the boat and to feel that you are more safe in that way? And that level of safety is a false level of safety anyway. It's there's no real safety and security in the consensus reality. The only way we can create real safety and security is to create it within ourselves, to integrate feeling safe and secure within ourselves, which is Cancer, the opposite to Saturn, if you like, Capricorn, Cancer. So in order to have that secure sense in this structural reality, Saturn, we have to nurture and sustain the internal security, which is Cancer, right? It's all there in the archetypes: as above, so below; as within, so without; as the soul, so the universe. So this month, circling back, is a big month for truth and revelations, and collectively. And then also just from our own personal journey, we could be studying something at this particular time, learning more, having a greater sense of passion, desire, and thirst for wisdom and truth. You know, there's a lot of supportive energy for those sorts of processes, journeys, studying, learning, inquiring, and so forth, particularly because of Pythia and her position. She's an oracle, right? She's the right-hand lady, if you like, of the god Apollo, who is the god who speaks and shines on truth and wisdom. So there's that. And then if we just go back to today's chart, where I was saying that there's the sun on the ascendant and Mercury is further on. Now, Mercury became visible. Mercury has his invisible and visible stages, just like Venus, just like Mars. Mars is still invisible at the moment. Venus is visible at the moment. These invisibility and visibility passages are highly crucial. Mercury is quite often found invisible, right? He is the, you know, the messenger of the gods, right? Literally. And his phases from the point of view of morning star, evening star, connect to two different deities. One is Apollo, one is Hermes. And when he is invisible, there are things that are hidden in the world of information, just to put it very, very simply. Now, recently he became visible as a morning star. We can see he's a morning star because there he is. He's already risen before the sun. The sun's just coming up and Mercury is already well and truly above the ascendant. So that's a morning star phase, which is the god Apollo. It's the same signature as that. So we have a morning star Mercury, which corresponds to the deity Apollo, which is all about truth, wisdom, insight, God's language, and so on and so forth, goddess language. We have the goddess Pythia, who is actually right there working with Apollo at the Oracle of Delphi, So she's a goddess of prophecy as well. So there are three very distinctive portals all taking place at the same time. Mercury is visible. Mercury is a morning star, which corresponds to Apollo, and the goddess Pythia is trailing just behind him, if you like, ahead of him in Capricorn. This is in the tropical zodiac. Now, in the Babylonian zodiac, Mercury became visible in Scorpio. And when Mercury became visible in Scorpio, which was just recently, just in the last week or so, something like that, it's coincided or synchronized with the the list that came out with the Epstein fella. So, you know, there are interesting headlines if you pay attention and you pay attention to what's happening in the sky as well. There's always a synchronistic correspondence taking place. The final thing that I want to touch on is, where are we? Transiting Saturn, sextile transiting Jupiter. Now, this is this chart today is just, what is it, a day or so away from the new moon, right? So we're in a balsamic phase, I believe, at the moment. So this sextile aspect is present in the new moon chart as well. And even though I've spoken about the new moon in a previous video and touched on various things, I'm obviously not going to circle back to all of that, but I want to circle back to the Jupiter-Saturn, because this is quite an important passage and it's quite fortuitous. Like I said at the very beginning, provided we remain grounded, realistic, really about anything we are trying to co-create. This aspect here is born out of the conjunction that occurred back in 2020, right? Which was the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, which was in Aquarius, right? So this aspect here is born out of that conjunction. This is the first time we're seeing Saturn and Jupiter in an opening sextile, right? This is a fertile ground for opportunities, to tap into opportunities that will be present for us at this time from the point of view of that great conjunction that occurred in 2020. The range of this energy is active already at the moment. We can see that Jupiter is 5, nearly 6 degrees of Taurus, and Saturn is about 4 degrees of Taurus. So they're very, very close. So the energy is starting to build momentum. The exactness of this aspect actually occurs in June of this year. So we've really got, you know, the first 6 months are fertile ground relative to this particular aspect. It is a great aspect because of many different reasons. First of all, we need to understand that these two energies are literally the complete antithesis to each other. One is about restriction, contraction, and the other is about expansion and growth. Restriction, retraction, of course, is Saturn. Expansion and growth, of course, is Jupiter. Now, Jupiter, being a benefic planet and fundamentally always trying to bring growth and expansion and opportunities and blessings and abundance to us, it also has that component to it that is incredibly idealistic. Nothing wrong with that. But in a material world, in a physical world, we all have limitations. That's a given. Nobody can evade the various limitations that this physical reality imposes on us at different times in different ways. And sometimes we need that dose of Saturn to remind us of where we need to create, you know, healthy boundaries and where we need to work harder, for example. So Jupiter brings in that inspiration of the grand ideas and ideals that we may have, but Saturn's presence in this story gives us that discipline, that direction, that ability to commit to something and lay down the foundation, the groundwork, the time, and the realistic perspective on it. So they're really complementary here at the moment, because they are in a sextile aspect, which is a harmonious aspect. And there is a reception as well, because Saturn is in Jupiter's sign, Pisces, right? Jupiter rules Pisces. So there is a one-way reception, which adds further power, if you like, to this sextile aspect. The fact that they are in water and earth signs, from my experience over the years, water and earth, which have very much to do with security. Now, whether that's emotional security or physical security, it can be both or either, but it is about security in some kind of way. And also water and earth signs tend to, when it comes to a sextile aspect, the opportunity, and this is a really important point, the opportunity comes very much from within our own realization of certain things. That's an important point. Fire and air, okay, when they are in a sextile aspect to each other, the opportunities tend to come from an external appearance, whether that's networking, connecting with certain individuals, being propelled to take a particular course of action through some sort of inspiration that came through what somebody said to you, or so on and so forth, right? It comes from the external action, active position that we may take, and the connections that we make with certain individuals or groups and like-minded people, soul tribes, whatever it is. But with water and earth, because water and earth take us very much within, especially water, the opportunity here is about something being realized within ourselves. So be very, very conscious and aware of that, and see what rises and is realized within you at this point in time. And really for, you know, the first 6 months of this year, this energy is open. So it is about maybe practicing some meditation, some stillness, some withdrawing from the external chaos and horror in certain aspects as well, and just sitting with what your ideals and dreams are, Jupiter, and how you can actually commit time, energy, focus, and so forth to making that a reality, right? This is what this Jupiter-Saturn sextile ultimately provides, a fertile ground for us to participate with, if we so choose. Naturally, the next thing you would need to look at is, well, what houses are transiting Jupiter and Saturn in your birth chart, because the location of these transiting planets forming this sextile will bring in the matters of those houses as a focal point. The houses will explain where these opportunities are seeking to be realized and expressed, and how that might all come together, for instance. So that's really all I wanted to say for today. I just wanted to inspire you, hopefully, and encourage you with two very specific things. One, the Jupiter sextile portal. It is not to be underestimated. I wish the aspect was happening 3 times by exactness, but it's not. But it's still there, you know, for really around about 6 months. So it's kind of like we're getting a longer hit of it, if you like, just from way of the distance between these two planets, which is very, very close. The exact aspect, as I said, occurs in June. This is the time now to really be working with this energy, in other words. And the other thing that I, of course, wanted to leave you with, that hopefully creates some inquiry in your own mind, inquiry in your own research and study and learning, is the journey of Pythia, which is the goddess of divination. Apparently, you know, because she was kind of hypnotized by Apollo. And she would sit there in this trance-like state, and people would go to her, and she would have prophecies, you know. So think about those images, those metaphors, and what she really represents from those perspectives, because we're not going to become Pythia, as it were, but we may find something that comes to us during this time that's really meaningful and really valuable from the point of view of seeing something that we couldn't see before, that is beneficial to us, that helps us and assists us in our path of destiny, in our future, in the present, in what we are trying to co-create in our life, and what we are trying to understand and have more insight into, and so forth. So I will leave it there, and I'll see you guys very soon with more. So once again, happy new moon, which is coming up very soon, and really take advantage of Jupiter sextile Saturn. If you want to know more about it from the point of view of your own chart, we can look at this together. You can just email me. There are lots of other things going on. I want to come back and talk a little bit more to Venus and the Venus star point, or just the actual Venus pentagram, the 5 Venus star points, and what that is speaking to for the months of January and February. But that's another video, so I'll see you soon. Don't forget, classes are starting soon. Reach out if you want to know more. Much love and blessings.